You know, it's a crazy thought, but you could be driving a car you absolutely love and have no idea that the company that built it is quietly, well, falling apart. The dealer, of course, never mentioned it, but the signs are there if you know where to look. We're talking shrinking model lineups, vanishing showrooms, and a brand that's really just running on fumes. So today, let's look at which brands are truly on the brink.
And this is a serious question you have to ask yourself, because when an automaker goes under, it's the owners who are left holding the bag. All of a sudden, your car's value could totally plummet. The service network you count on could just disappear. And the whole future of your car becomes, well, a huge question mark.
So we're going to count down the 6 car brands that are facing a deep, deep crisis. And stick around because the number 1 spot, it's a brand that's still selling a ton of cars, but it's hiding a massive, massive problem that could affect millions of owners. You're not going to see this one coming.
All right, kicking off our countdown at number 6 is Genesis. Now, this was supposed to be Hyundai's big, ambitious play to take on the German luxury titans, BMW and Mercedes. The whole promise was simple: get that German-level luxury, but without that painful German price tag.
And while, yes, selling 75,000 cars a year sounds pretty good on its own, in the luxury world, it's honestly a drop in the bucket. I mean, just look at this chart. Genesis is being completely buried by established players like Lexus and BMW. They're selling 4 or even 5 times as many cars. It's not even close. So here's the real issue. Luxury buyers aren't just looking for a good deal. They're buying status, prestige, and a lot of people still just see Genesis as a Hyundai in a fancy suit. It just doesn't have that badge appeal. You combine that identity crisis with some really serious recalls. We're talking fuel pump failures, EVs losing all power, and that trust just evaporates. Now they're already starting to axe key models, which tells you Genesis is on some seriously shaky ground. Okay, coming in at number 5 is a brand that was once the absolute symbol of British cool, Jaguar. I mean, think about it. Roaring sports cars, gorgeous sedans, but today it's just a shadow of what it used to be, and it's dealing with a crisis that, frankly, it brought on itself.
Look, Jaguars have never had a great reputation for reliability, let's be honest. And as you can see here, they're still ranked right near the bottom of the entire industry, way, way below average. That is a tough reputation to shake, especially when your brand is already fighting to stay alive.
So what did they do? Well, they risked everything on this crazy pivot to all-electric cars by killing their entire lineup except for a single SUV. This has left their dealers with basically empty showrooms and nothing new to sell until 2026. A terrible rebrand tried to erase decades of history, and honestly, the only thing keeping the lights on at Jaguar right now is the massive sales from its sister company, Land Rover.
Coming in at number 4 is a name that was a true icon back in the 2000s, a brand that dominated rally stages and tuner scenes, Mitsubishi. I mean, this is the company that gave us legends like the Lancer Evolution, but that same brand is now just fighting to stay relevant.
And just look at this chart. It is a brutal decline. Back in its heyday in 2002, Mitsubishi sold almost 345,000 cars in the US. Fast forward 20 years, and that number has absolutely tanked to just 86,000. This isn't just a bad year, it's a complete collapse of their market share.
So what on earth happened? Well, having a super outdated product lineup and a bad reputation for CVT transmission failures definitely didn't help. But the real killer? Corporate scandals. In 2000, they were caught red-handed covering up serious defects. Then it happened again in 2016 when they were caught faking fuel data. These events just completely shattered public trust. The only reason the brand is even still around is because Nissan swooped in and bought a controlling stake.
At number 3, we've got Infiniti. Now, there was a time when this was Nissan's powerful answer to Lexus. It was for drivers who wanted that BMW-style performance, but with Japanese reliability. Infiniti had a real edge, a sharp identity, and a really loyal fan base.
Yeah, well, those loyal fans are long gone. Sales have completely fallen off a cliff, dropping an unbelievable 62% in just 7 years. This isn't a slow decline, folks. The brand is literally fading away right before our eyes.
Infiniti basically threw away everything that made it special. It gave up its performance roots to chase the same boring, generic luxury crossover market as everyone else. Now, its last real performance sedan, the Q50, is gone. They're closing standalone showrooms and forcing them to move inside Nissan dealerships. It is a brand in full retreat, and it's losing its entire identity in the process.
And our runner-up for the most endangered brand is a name that was once the pride of American car manufacturing: Chrysler. For decades, this brand stood for solid, practical family cars. They literally invented the minivan.
This wasn't just a car brand, it was part of American culture.
But that culture is a distant memory. An 80% collapse in sales from its peak, that is just a staggering, mind-blowing number. While all its competitors were modernizing and innovating, Chrysler just let its cars get old, and the market simply walked away.
Their most iconic car in decades, the Chrysler 300, it's gone. Their only real consumer vehicle left, the Pacifica minivan, is losing market share to its rivals. And their one big hope for a comeback, this cool electric vehicle called the Airflow, was suddenly canceled. To top it all off, the CEO of their parent company has flat out warned that some brands could get the axe by 2026. Chrysler looks terrifyingly vulnerable.
And that brings us to our number one spot. And I have a feeling this choice is going to surprise a lot of you. Nissan. I mean, for decades, Nissan has been a global juggernaut. You see their cars absolutely everywhere. They're known for being reliable, affordable, and even fun to drive.
And this is exactly why it's so shocking. The brand sold over 865,000 cars in the US last year. Those are really solid numbers. On the surface, if you're just looking at the American market, everything seems totally fine.
So what is the problem? Why on earth would a company with such strong US sales be number one on a list of collapsing brands? Well, it's because those healthy US numbers are hiding a much, much bigger and more dangerous global story.
Here's the truth of the situation. Globally, Nissan recently posted a loss of $4.5 billion. Their operating profits dropped 90% in a single year. The company is in a full-blown financial crisis, and they are burning through cash at an absolutely terrifying rate.
This entire downfall really kicked off back in 2018 with the dramatic arrest of their superstar CEO, Carlos Ghosn, which just threw the company into chaos. Since then, their global sales have plummeted from 5.8 million cars a year down to just 3.3 million. And now they're canceling key electric vehicle projects, which leaves their future in the all-important US market completely up in the air. Make no mistake, Nissan is fighting for its very survival.
So how do you protect yourself from all this? First, you've got to research the health of the entire company, not just the one shiny car you have your eye on. Second, really think about the long-term stuff. What's the depreciation going to look like? Will it be easy to get it serviced in 5 or even 10 years? And finally, don't ignore these warning signs we've talked about. They're red flags for a reason.
Because at the end of the day, when a big car company gets into trouble, it's the owners who end up paying the biggest price. So as we wrap this up, I've got to ask you, which of these brands surprised you the most? Was it the shocking truth behind Nissan's big sales numbers, or maybe the slow, quiet death of an American icon like Chrysler? Let me know your thoughts down below.